You lose 3 decades of your life to a cubicle because you trade your hours for a paycheck that barely covers the rent. But on October 14th, 2022, I stopped that cycle permanently by flipping a single overlooked financial lever. Most people assume wealth requires a 6 figure salary, yet I started from absolute zero. This is the exact blueprint to exit the rat race early, using the one mechanism that forces your money to work harder than you ever did, makes the math work in half the time. And almost nobody talks about it. So sit back, grab a cup of water, and let us get to it. Financial independence, or the FIRE movement, is not just about hoarding pennies until you are old and gray. It is about buying back the most precious commodity you own, your time. Bryce Lung and Christy Shen, the authors of Quit Like a Millionaire, proved this is possible by moving from poverty to millionaires in just a few years. They were not born into wealth. They were not lucky. They just understood how to manipulate the gap between their income and their spending in a way that most people never consider. The first step to achieving this is what I call the optimization of your baseline life. Most people treat their spending as a fixed reality, but it is actually a series of choices that can be hacked. When Christy and Bryce were living in Toronto, they looked at their housing costs and realized it was the single biggest anchor on their financial freedom. Instead of just accepting rent as a cost of living, they moved into a smaller space that was intentionally designed for utility rather than status. By dropping their rent significantly, they saved thousands of dollars per year. That is money that, when invested in low cost index funds, compounds with a massive tailwind. You do not have to move into a tiny studio apartment to start, but you do have to look at your largest expenses: housing, transport, and food. And ask yourself if you are paying for comfort or status. Status is a trap. It is the silent killer of wealth because it forces you to spend money to impress people who do not actually care about your long term success. If you can strip away the need to impress others, you have already won half the battle. That is the easy win. It requires no complex math, no stock market expertise, and no side hustle that consumes your soul. It is just a shift in your mental framework. Once you have that locked in, you have to move to the next stage of the journey. Now, here is where things get interesting. You cannot just save your way to freedom. You have to understand the power of location arbitrage. Most people assume they have to live in the most expensive city in their region because that is where the jobs are. But in our modern economy, that assumption is becoming obsolete. Christy and Bryce realized that by working remotely and living in a location where the cost of living was a fraction of their original home, they could drastically increase their savings rate without needing to increase their salary. Think about this for a second. If you live in a city like New York or London, you are spending a massive portion of your income just to exist. If you can move your lifestyle to a place where your money goes 3 times further, your savings rate effectively triples. That is not just a small tweak. That is a fundamental reordering of your financial reality. A study from the National Bureau of Economic Research found that moving to a lower cost area is one of the most reliable predictors of long-term wealth accumulation for middle-class earners. If you are finding this helpful, hit subscribe. I drop videos like this every week to help you master your money. If this is clicking for you, a quick subscribe helps me keep making these and ensures you do not miss the next step, which is coming up right now. Okay, remember how I said there was a third method, the one I've been saving for you? This is the one that really changes everything. It is called the variable withdrawal strategy, and it is the missing link in the FIRE community. Most people have heard of the 4% rule, which says you can safely withdraw 4% of your portfolio every year and never run out of money. But the 4% rule is a static, rigid, and frankly, risky way to approach retirement. It ignores the reality of market volatility. If the market crashes in the first year of your retirement, that 4% rule can ruin you. Instead, Christy and Bryce advocate for a dynamic variable approach. You look at the market conditions each year. If the market is doing well, you take a little more. If the market takes a massive dip, you adjust your spending down and withdraw less. This is the secret lever. By being flexible with your spending, you can actually retire with a smaller portfolio than you think because you are not forcing your nest egg to sustain the same level of spending during a down market. This single shift allows you to move your retirement date forward by 5, 7, or even 10 years. Think about that. You are not waiting for the perfect conditions. You are building a system that survives any conditions. Once you see it this way, you cannot unsee it. Your financial life is not a fixed script written by your employer or your bank. It is an active, living strategy that you control. You are the architect of your own time. So there you go. 3 distinct ways to build your path to independence: optimize your baseline, leverage location arbitrage, and master the variable withdrawal strategy. The last one alone, the variable withdrawal method, could save you more than a decade of working years if you get it right. It takes the pressure off the need to reach a massive arbitrary number before you can finally stop trading your time for money. It is not about reaching a destination. It is about reclaiming the ability to choose how you spend your Tuesday afternoons. If you got value from this, share it with someone who needs to hear it and subscribe so you do not miss the next one. I am already working on a deep dive into the tax efficient structures that keep your money in your pocket instead of the government's, and trust me, you're going to want to see that. Keep building, keep optimizing, and I will see you in the next one. That is the beauty of this lifestyle. It is a constant process of refinement. You are never really done learning, but once you set the foundation, the rest is just about steering the ship in the direction you want to go. Whether you want to retire in 5 years or just want the freedom to take a sabbatical whenever you choose, the math remains the same. It is always about the gap between what you bring in and what you spend and the efficiency with which you deploy those resources. Keep that gap wide, keep your eyes on the long term, and do not let the noise of the market or the pressure of social status distract you from your goal. You have everything you need to start today, and you do not need permission from anyone else to begin. See you next week.